the organization's directive is to move to the cloud, right? They want to have the centralized file share management in Azure cloud, and also they want a lot of remote locations accessing this particular file share. And when they do that, there are a lot of latency issues and there are a lot of challenges. And in order to overcome these, we have a option that is given by Microsoft called Azure File Sync. I'll show you how to do that. Let's go and install that first. Okay, so we'll minimize this. You can go to okay, let me download the Azure Storage Sync agent. Okay. So there are some system requirement for that. This is mainly to synchronize your existing on-premises Windows server with Azure file share in the cloud. Okay, this is a very good useful option that a lot of customers are using it when they are seeing a lot of latency or delay. They can install this Azure file sync agent on their remote file server or in their on-premises file server, and this can start catching the information that are frequently used. Okay, and this needs some specific settings like WMS Windows Management Framework 5.1 is needed, which is available in your Windows 2012 R2 operating system. So from that, it will support all the latest operating system. You can also download it if you don't have that pre-installed. You can also install it from this particular download location. So now I'll just download the Azure File Sync agent. So you have different versions for different operating system. Okay, so what is the version that we are running in currently? Windows version is 2019. So I'll go and download the 2019 agent. If you are having 2022 or 2012 or 2016, you have different agents. I can just go and download the specific one for my operating system, and I can download it. Okay, so once the storage sync agent is downloaded, you have to go and get it registered. Okay, let me accept the license terms. Let me install it. So if you have a proxy server in your on-premises network, go and configure the proxy server and credential. Here I don't want to do that. And if you want to update this particular Microsoft Azure File Sync agent along with your monthly patching or monthly update, you can enable this option. It will give automatically update during the new patch release or new update release from Microsoft. If I don't want to do that, I can do not use Microsoft update. I can select that. And you can also automate when there is a new version is available for your Azure File Sync. Okay, so I can just do that. I mean, in generally, like every second Tuesday, they release new bug fixes and patches, right? I can select the auto update. You can also, so this is very interesting thing, collect data necessary to identify and fix problems. Sometimes Microsoft gathers a lot of telemetry in some of the financial organizations, some of the banking industry, even they don't allow to collect the data or telemetry from any of your systems. So if you are doing this for a healthcare or for a very secure organization, don't enable the telemetry. This is just collecting the information, different errors that are coming out and different logs that are generating, but still those organizations, they don't want to send any data outside of their data center, even if it is just the telemetry data. Okay, so you have to be clear on that. But for a normal organization, like for automotive or manufacturing, they might not be very concerned about that particular compliance requirement. You can just go and enable telemetry. Telemetry helps Microsoft to provide fixes and some kind of troubleshooting materials based on the frequently arising problems. Okay, let's just give a minute. Okay, so it's taking some time to install. Okay, it has completed the installation. So now what we need to do is we need to kind of log into the Azure portal first. I'll log into the Azure portal. Okay, just give me a second. Has someone enabled remote caching or app fabric caching in Microsoft technology? Like in a remote sites, they will be enabling this client side caching, or there is a feature called remote caching. Has someone implemented that solution along with your DFS? Okay, 1 minute.
For SharePoint on-premise, we have implemented distributed caching
Oh, distributed
system.
caching, right? That's a very good thing. But
Yes.
yeah, but I'm referring to something called Microsoft Branch Cache technology. This is mainly for the remote locations. So this is a technology that a lot of branch locations they use. This is for if you are having a lot of remote locations and you want to reduce the number of files that are getting transferred, or if there is a file that is frequently being accessed, it will create a local cache in the remote data centers in each of the branch sites or remote sites. You can just go and install this tool, and this will start creating a caching of your centralized file server content. This is mainly a technology that we do on the on-premises thing. This is like very much similar to the branch cache technology, and even distributed caching also works using the same technology in terms of the transfer and all those things. But yeah, there are a lot of tool sets that is available, but we'll focus on this the file sync now. So in order to enable that, you have to go to the storage sync services first and create a storage sync service. Okay, so I can just go and select the resource group. I can give it a name. I can say this is for on-prem to Azure file share, and I can select the region where I have the file share. I think I've created it in East US. I'll select the location. So this is to synchronize the content from for your on-premises to Azure file share. Okay, so where is that content? Okay, let me go and click next. So if I want to specifically allow access from a specific range of IP address or only from a private range, I can limit it. There is a connection issue. Let it get reconnected. Okay, so I can just allow it for now and review and create it. Okay, once after we create the Azure file sync agent, Azure file sync and storage sync are the same. Okay, some people get confused with the term. Earlier it used to be called a storage sync. Now they have rebranded it into Azure file sync concept. So you have to go and create the storage sync for synchronizing your on-premises file server and Azure file server. Okay, so once you are done, you can go to the resource, and here you can go and create synchronization group like your DFS replication group. In your on-premises DFS file system, you go and create root, link, and you configure replication. And I think there is a concept called replication, DFS replication within DFS also, right? So it is very much similar to that DFSR technology. Okay, I can go and create a sync group here, and I'll say I want to synchronize it from on-prem to Azure file share, and I have to select the storage account, which storage account I want to use. I'll use the premium one. This is what we used, right? And I can select the Azure file share. Within that storage account, you need to select which file share you are going to synchronize with and create the sync group. Once after you create the sync group, you need to register the remote location servers or on-premises server to this particular storage sync group. Okay, in order to do that, first you need to go to the machine, and once after the agent is installed, you can just close this, and it will ask me to connect, sign in, and register that particular server to Azure subscription. So if you are registering it to Azure China Cloud or Germany Cloud or US government, you can select the other option, but I'm going to use it for Azure Cloud Enterprise and Azure Enterprise Cloud, and I'm selecting it and signing it now. And I can just enter my ID and I can register my machine. I'm registering my server, in fact. So send a notification. Okay. 68, approve. Okay, once after I sign in, it will show me the list of subscription. I can select the subscription. It will show me the list of resource group. I can select the resource group where I have the storage sync agent, and I can go and select the storage sync I created on-prem to Azure file system. Okay, and I can register my device. I can register my server to this particular storage sync service. This is the first step you have to do. And once after you register, you will be able to see that server under the registered server. You can see, oh, okay, this is, oh, EastUS VM1. I think it's already showing it now. Host name. Yeah, so it's already available now. It's just at 5:43 a.m. It was added and last seen. Okay, now it is online. Now you have the system available. You can also download the same agent here also. Okay, so you need not download it from the direct internet site. You can also log into your Azure portal and go to the register server section, and you can download the Azure file sync agent and you can install it. This is the best way because you will get the latest agent version, and you don't have to get into any kind of trouble at a later time. Always download from the portal only. Okay, so you can see the server is here. Now, once after you have registered the server, you can go and add this registered server into the sync group. Go to the sync group and you have the option to add the cloud endpoint and the server endpoint. So now we already have the cloud endpoint, which is your Azure file share, and we can go and add the Azure server endpoint also. So only the registered servers will be listed here. Okay, the very important prerequisite is that you have to go and register your server first into the Azure file sync agent or Azure storage sync agent. Then only you will be able to see that under the registered servers listing. Okay, so you have to first install the agent, register it, and you will be able to select the server. And on this server, if you are just like that, you are going and creating the server endpoint, it will start replicating all the data from your system. So you should not do that. Okay, you can limit the respective shares or whatever, right? For example, if I want to replicate only the contents within this stand folder, okay, or if I'm just planning to replicate only the departmental folder or some specific home folder, I can just give that specific path here. I can just say D drive and I can say stan. Okay, and I can just say files from the server path has been brought to the cloud via data box. Okay, so you can also do some preceding, meaning if you have some enormous data like petabytes of data, or if you have some exabytes of data, you can also export and import, or you can also send the data using your hard disk, or there are a lot of different mechanisms. I'll explain that shortly, but there are preceding option also. Preceding means if you have a lot of data, like example terabytes of data or petabytes of data, you can also send the data using hard disk or different storage medium to Azure data center, and you can copy it as a preceding option. You can precede some of the content. This is mainly for locations where you have insufficient internet bandwidth. Okay, so if you have a WAN bandwidth challenge or internet bandwidth challenge, so if you're not able to copy it through the internet, you can also do a preceding, and you have the option here. You can go and say, I want to precede it. If I have preceded it, I can just select this option so that it does not copy all the data. It will just check what are the existing data, and only the missing data will be replicated or synchronized if you are selecting this option. You can also do a preceding option also. You can also check for the volume free policy and all those things, but let's leave that. I can just go and create it now. So now I have added the cloud endpoint, and I'm also adding the server endpoint. From this server, all the data that I'm putting inside the D stan folder, it will get replicated to the Azure file share. Okay, so let's go and check that. So under the D stan, it is having only 2 files now, right? Let's also wait and see. Also the contents from the cloud endpoint also will get populated here. Okay, I'll also create one more folder here just for testing purpose. I'll create it as Ganesh. I'll just say uh, Ganesh 1, 2. We have 2 Ganesh. Okay, 1, 2. Close it. Okay, so let's wait for a couple of minutes. You should also start seeing the departmental folder, home folder, all those things here, and also in the cloud, you should also start seeing the synchronized data. I can just go to the file share, and within this particular file share, here I should start seeing those files. Okay, just in a couple of minutes, you can start seeing those folders like Ganesh, and those two files should come in here. Okay, let's give maybe, oh, test one is already there. I think it was added manually or uploaded manually, but let's give it a minute. I can also rename it. See, you can see that the departmental folder has come downloaded, and the finance folder has come, the HR folder has come, the Ravi, the XML file, all these are now available. See, the 3 folders that we created there in the cloud, everything has come, right? It's going on. The synchronization is happening. Okay, if you are accessing some specific data, like if you want to access the specific content, it will download it. Okay, so initially, like, it will not download all the content. It will create a caching for the frequently accessed data. Okay, let me close this. Okay, now you can see that, right? Within the D drive scan, you can see whatever content that is there in the cloud storage, it has come here. Similarly, if I want to go and rename or create a new file, like I'll say test2 or text. Let's see. Here also, I should start seeing those files. Okay, it will take a couple of minutes. So this is a very powerful tool for synchronizing your on-premises and the cloud file share, or the cloud storage. Any questions from anyone so far?
So this is just from the on-prem server to the cloud, server to the Azure, not
The on-prem.
the on-prem storage to the Azure file share.
See, on-prem storage also is okay, right? See, for example, if you have an on-prem storage, you can also add that location. Like it is just looking for the server where exactly the storage is mounted. Like, for example, if you have mounted it on some E drive or F drive, a complete capacity from the NetApp or from your block storage, if you have provisioned it on a server, you can install the agent, and from there you can copy all the content. But if you're talking about some traditional storage, then you have to use Azure NetApp files to synchronize from on-prem NetApp to cloud NetApp solution. So there are other solutions also, but this is mainly from on-prem file server to cloud directory. Yes.
So basically, the on-prem file share is actually mounted in the client, and we are installing the agent in the client. Then we are syncing the data between Azure Cloud on the file share mounted on the client system, right?
Yeah, that is
using
correct.
the file sync.
Right.
Okay,
you're right. Yeah.
Not directly from storage to Azure file sync.
Okay, so see, even on the on-premises, it has replicated, right? Now here also in the cloud, it has come. See, you can see the data loss file, you can see the test one, you can see the Ganesh folder, you can see the Ganesh 1.2 text file. It is bidirectional.
Got it. But when we talk about, as you mentioned, some large data, right? Petabyte kind of too much data. So that is achievable using the preceding based
Correct.
on the data which we provide in advance, right? So that we can do the final sync or maybe keep the sync data.
Yeah, I'm going to explain that shortly now. So any questions on what we have done so far? Okay, so we will talk about that. See, this Azure file sync is mainly to have a centralized file share in cloud. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
So using this file sync, can we mount this as a file share to the systems which we have in Azure?
Using this file share, can we? Yeah, we can do it. See, that's what we have done. This server is in Azure platform only. You can mount it anywhere.
Right.
So
even you this can is actually a file share.
Yeah. You can even add it to a DFS also. Okay, if you have an existing DFS server, even you can use DFS namespace with Azure files also. You can go and mount these file share on a DFS namespace also. That is also supported. You can integrate with your DFS existing namespace. You can also integrate with your DFS R solution. So those options are available.
Right, thanks.
No problem. So let's see. Any other questions before we move on? Okay, just a second. Okay, now let's talk about the data transfer options, which Ganesh has asked, right? So too much of information, right? So we have even furthermore discussion, but yeah, let's talk about the data transfer solution. See, when you are a solution architect, you need to kind of recommend options for the customer. Depends on how much data we are talking about, how much frequency. See, for example, if you are asked from a customer that they want to migrate the data from on-prem to the cloud, you need to understand the data size first, and you need to understand their internet bandwidth and internet usage pattern, meaning they might be using some business application to be accessed by end user, or they might have regular offsite backup going on through the internet, or there might be some unmountain integration or whatever. So you need to understand their network, and you need to understand the transfer frequency of the data, how much data changes happen, whether it happens on a daily basis or it happens during the month end or weekend. So how exactly the data transfer or the data pattern, whether you need to understand the kind of trend or the pattern of the changes in data. Okay, so that you can understand all these things and recommend for synchronizing those data to the cloud. So there are multiple ways, as we discussed just now. We can do an offline data transfer using Microsoft hardware or your own hardware disk also. Okay, you can do a physical shipping of disk or disk. There are some data box solution. There are some this disk can be your own customer disk, or you can also arrange a disk from Microsoft also. They can also send a disk for copying the data, or you can also have the approved disk from Microsoft listing. You can go and purchase a disk and you can copy the data. If this is mainly for bulk data transfer, right? If you want to do like bulk transfer or one-time transfer, you can use this offline transfer method. So what you can do is you can copy the data to the data box disk, and you can send that disk to Microsoft data center location, and they will import all the data to the Azure blob or Azure file share, and you can continue to use that from the Azure portal. So you can do the offline data transfer if you have enough network bandwidth, or if you have enough network WAN bandwidth. You can go and transfer the data over the graphical interface, I mean, over the network itself, WAN network itself. Either you can do it through GUI using Azure portal or Azure Storage Explorer or third-party Explorer, or you can also do it from the command line using Azure Copy or any third-party scripted command lines. You can also write your own PowerShell commandlets or SDK using Python. You can also write some SDKs using Go, Ruby. Like a lot of customers, they also do a scripted or programmatic transfer, but you can use command line also, or you can use some kind of DFSR technology, or using some Azure Data Factory. You can also do some transfer. Azure Data Factory, I'll explain it later after the database class, but there are a lot of different options through which you can send the data to Microsoft Data Center. Okay, so the scenario one is generally you have a kind of huge amount of data. Okay, so scenario one is generally huge amount of data is there, like petabytes or exabytes of data, and you have less internet bandwidth, less WAN bandwidth, and you need to send this data to Azure cloud one time. Okay, so in that case, you have to, I mean, I have a very good option in the cloud platform. If you go to the storage account, they give you beautiful suggestions. If you go here, if you click on the data migration option, earlier, maybe 6-7 years back, you don't have a lot of luxury to use this kind of suggestions or options, best practices from Microsoft. We have to go and analyze the data. We have to go and do a lot of upload, download testing. We have to do a POC, and then you have to decide which one might be suitable. But now you don't have to do all those things. We can just go and say, I want to migrate it to Azure files or Azure blobs or whatever, and you can select what are the different solutions that are available. And if you click this, it is telling us like for Azure files, you have these are the particular options that are available. Okay, now don't go into this portal. See, for example, I can say I want to migrate data to storage account, and I want to move the data from one subscription to another subscription, or one account to another resource group, or move account to new region, or I want to upload data from the older version of GP version general purpose to the new version of general purpose. So you have a lot of scenarios here. So I want to move data. Okay, let's do one thing. So I want to do local on-premises file share. So I have some local on-premises files. I want to transfer it to Azure blobs or Azure files. I can select any of this. Sorry. Yeah, I can just go and select the data size here. If I have some 50 GB of data, then you get a lot of options here. I can say I got 1 Gbps speed, and I want to do on a regular basis, like on every week or every day or every month. I want to do a repetitive data transfer. You will get multiple solutions here. You can either use Azure File Sync technology, or you can use Azure Storage Explorer, or you can directly do it in the Azure portal itself, or Azure CLI, or Azure PowerShell, or Azure Copy. You have wide variety of options to do that. But if I want to just do it only once or one time, you get again a lot of options. But what if my data is very huge? I have 500 terabytes of data, and I've got only 1 GB of capacity. See, the options are now added, and you can see that they are giving us option to use Azure Data Box Disk and Azure Data Box Edge. And if you look at here, these are all offline transfer device. These are all offline transfer device, and this is on-prem Azure Data Box Edge. So they are giving you a lot of other options, because you cannot copy 500 terabytes of data using Azure Storage Explorer, because it is going to be tough. If you are using it, if there is a in between network issue or something, like it will completely screw up you. I mean, it is going to give a lot of challenge. Okay, so for example, if I say I have 100 Gbps, then they will remove the offline transfer method, because I've got enough bandwidth here. So it all depends on how much data you are planning to transfer, what is the network bandwidth you have. Based on that, Microsoft is suggesting the different options here. So let's talk about the scenario one. I've got huge amount of data, and I've got very less network bandwidth, and I want to do the data transfer. So here they are giving you these options. So Azure Data Box is nothing but a server kind of device, which you can request from Microsoft. Okay, so I can show you that. So Azure Data Box Disk. Okay, so this is the data box image. Okay, so they will send this disk to your location. So if you are planning to copy some 2 terabyte or 5 terabyte content, you can copy it in this disk, and you can send it to Microsoft location. So once you order it in the online portal, they will send it to your location, and you can unlock based on the password key that they are sending you. And once after you unlock, you can copy the data, and you can lock it again, and then send it back to Microsoft location. So there are many solutions. So this is the basic disk option, and also they provide you data box option, which is a kind of server device. You can connect the server on, I think I also have some slides which explains about that. So I have recently taken some screenshots from one of the project. Just give me a second. Yeah, so you will okay, let me take a step back. See, if you want to go and order a particular data disk or data storage, first you need to log into the Azure portal, and you need to create an export import job. And once after you created an export import job in the Azure portal, they will ask you what kind of capacity you are looking at, and what is the data size you are looking at, and automatically based on that, they will tell you like you need to use Azure Data Disk or Azure Data Box or Azure Data Box Heavy, and you can you'll be asked to enter the shipping address, where exactly they need to send, and which carrier is providing support to that location. You have to select all those things, and you can get the device ordered to your location. See, if you go here, and I can just say import export job, or you can select this particular service, and you can go and create a request. And while you are creating this request, you will be asked for a lot of details, which network carrier you want to use, whether you want to export from Azure, or you want to import into Azure, okay, you'll have to fill in a lot of details. Okay, I'm saying import into Azure. Okay, and I can say this destination location, and it will ask us the carrier name and what kind of files, the shipping details, who is the carrier who is providing the support, the account carrier contact name. So you can just fill in the different details, and they will send you the device to your location. For example, if you have ordered for Azure Data Box, they will be sending this server hardware. This is the front end view, and this is the back end view. It is like a server, okay, but it has got some lot of data capacity to copy the data. You can connect this power, you can connect the management port, you can connect the 3 data port, and you can attach it to the closest network switch, and you can start transferring the data. Okay, so once after the data is transferred, on the ink display, on the e-ink display, you can see that you can mention that the data is copied, and you can send it back to Azure platform. So when you copy it, you will be asked to enter few details, like it will ask you to enter the order details. It will ask you to enter the Azure subscription ID. It will ask you to select which storage account you are planning to copy to. This is the view of the screen. Okay, so once after you receive the data box edge, once after you connect it, you'll be able to manage this like this. You can connect the start option here. You will be asked to configure the network interface. You have to give the IP address of your existing data center. Whatever free IP you want to give, you can give it for management and for the data port. Once after you configure it, you will be asked to copy the data. After you copy the data, then you can start the shipment. Okay, when you start the shipment, it will ask you which location you want to send, and you can select all those things, and you can stop the system and send it across. Okay, so this is a procedure where you can do offline data transfer. If you have a huge amount of data, you can go for data box edge or data box heavy. Okay, we have data box disk. That is the basic one. If you have some 1 TB, 2 TB and all, you can use data box disk. But if you have some 50 terabyte or 100 terabyte, you can go for data box. If you have petabytes of capacity, then you can go for data box heavy. It will be like a trolley, and they will be sending it. In Azure, I don't think they have given Snow Mobile, which is a solution for container. Okay, even Amazon provides it. Azure container for data copy. I don't think they have given that solution yet. Okay, so in AWS, okay, they have that Snow Mobile option. Snow Mobile is a container. They will send the container to your data center, and you can copy even exabytes of huge data there also. See, if you look at here, this particular container will be sent to your data center, and you can park the container next to your data center, and you can copy the data also. So this option is available. Even see, whatever technology that you are talking about in Azure and AWS, almost it is the same. See, for example, in AWS, they will call it a snowball edge, and only the sticker will be different. Okay, the provider might be the same only. See, in AWS, they call it a snowball edge. In Azure, we call it as data box edge or data box heavy. Almost it's the same only. Okay, only the sticker will be different. The manufacturer will all be the same. So it will be like the same exact device. Okay, so they have all the same kind of thing like AWS, but we don't have the Snow Mobile yet in Azure platform. There is not much. I mean, there is not a customer who has transferred a huge amount of huge amount of data to Azure platform yet. But Snow Mobile, it has got a lot of use cases in AWS. There are a lot of customers who has copied data using the containers also. Okay, so these are all data transfer options that you can do using import export job using the portal. Okay, you have to place a request using the portal, and they will be sending you the physical hardware to your location. And once you receive the hardware, you can connect it to the network, and you can do the data transfer or data copy. Okay, this is like offline data transfer, but there are a lot of online options which we discussed, right? We talked about AZ copy, we talked about Azure Storage Explorer. There is a tool called Azure Data Factory. This can also be used. It is a very interesting tool. But if you look at here, the interesting fact is the number of days it is needed. If you are doing a command line copy using the internet, it is going to take you 60 days. But if you look at here, if you are using Azure Data Box technology, you can copy from 10 to 20 days itself. Okay, it's very fast actually. Even if you do the offline data transfer, it can complete the project. You can complete the project in very less time, and also with very less price also. Okay, see, if I am talking about 1 terabyte, it gives me much more options. I got 1 GB. So you can see that it gives me Azure file sync, and if I got very less speed, 45 megabytes, it will give me a data box disk and all these things. Sorry. So any questions on this one? Like Microsoft itself provides you the solutioning on this particular screen. If you want to migrate data, and based on your data size and based on your WAN bandwidth and the transfer frequency, you can go and choose the solution that Microsoft recommends, and you can do the data transfer using that technology. Okay, whether you want to do it once or repeatedly every month or every week. So any questions from anyone on that? For
Yes, Chan.
the
What
Yeah, go
is
ahead.
the speed of the Azure box data transfer, Stan?
Azure Data Box, you're referring to this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they give you two 10 Gbps NIC. Okay, so you have two 10 Gbps here. You also have one more data NIC, which is 1 Gbps. So I mean, on a high level, you get an aggregate of 10 Gbps data transfer speed.
Okay. But see, actually, we have the Azure backbone itself, if required, then we can transfer the data with the external world as well. That will more speed than this Azure data box, right?
You are referring to Direct Connect?
Yeah,
Express route, right? You are
Azure.
referring to express route. See, that's something different, right? That is the case here. See, if you want to do using the network transfer, you can also do it. If you have a existing WAN bandwidth, that's what I told you, right? If your internet bandwidth is express route or direct connect, and if you have a dedicated 100 Gbps capacity or those capacity, you can just go and select that here in the solutioning. You can say I've got 100 Gbps capacity using express route. Then they're not going to tell you Azure data box and all those things. It is not at all needed. If you have 1 terabyte and you have an express route circuit, then copy it using the PowerShell or Azure Storage or Azure Storage Explorer. It will work like within a day or two. See, it will take only 2 minutes to copy 1 terabyte of data if you have 100 Gbps bandwidth. And even if you have 50 terabyte, it is going to take only 2 hours.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So it seems to be some you use the external drive to move the data from one data center to other data center.
You can also use it
Like
for that. Okay, it is also use it for that, but ideally it is mainly intended for locations. I mean, if you are doing a data center exit, or if you want to move the complete data outside of a existing data center, if you have huge amount of data, then you need to go and understand how much network bandwidth we have, whether we want to do it one time or you want to replicate it and store it as a backup archiving solution. And you need to understand the customer requirement, and you can suggest these different options. There are 10 to 15 different options that you can use, and based on your size, based on your bandwidth and the time that they are looking at, if they want to transfer it within a day or within 1 week, then you need to kind of understand which can help you to complete that project within that stipulated timeline. Maybe the customer will say, I have only 1 month more and I need to completely move all the data to the cloud, and you need to look at like which can help you achieve that particular timeline. Okay, so that is also important. And you can also move it from one storage account to another storage account, so that is also possible. You have different solutions for that. If you want to go to new subscription, they also provide you move account to new subscription. There is a inbuilt option that you can use. Okay, so you don't have to go for any external tools. There are different solutions here itself. If I want to move it to a new region, you also get this option, storage account move to a new region. It's a move option is there, right? And if you go to export template, you have the option to move it to the new location also. So different scenarios are there, and you can go to the storage account, go to this particular specific option, and you can explore that data migration option. This gives you all different scenarios and solutions.
So these are
okay,
just the recommendations based on
Right.
our right.
Yeah, even we might have to go and do some kind of due diligence or some kind of POC just to make sure whatever they are saying or they are recommending is I mean, is it possible real time? Because some customers, they will say I've got this much bandwidth, but they might be utilizing it for some business applications or some kind of continuous data transfer from one primary region to some remote site or branch site. So there might be a lot of application that might already be receiving a lot of events from some applications, or maybe like there are different use cases for different customers, right? They might be connected to satellite, or they might be connected to a lot of I mean, a lot of automobiles or auto devices on the network, on the internet, through the internet. So they might have some kind of utilization. We need to talk to the network engineer and understand what exactly can be used for this particular data transfer, whether they have some network throttling enabled, whether they have got some data fine tuning enabled. So we need to have a conversation with the network architect and decide on this. So it's not just about understanding only the network bandwidth and the size. You also need to talk to a network architect and understand what is the utilization of the current network. You need to get report for the last couple of months, or at least for the last three to 4 months. Then you can decide whether this network has to be enhanced, or whether you can use the existing network. Definitely we need to do some due diligence checks and so on. Okay, so any
Stan,
other, yeah.
yeah, on the Azure file sync, any specific time or a specific day we wanted to do this sync? For example, I just wanted to do the sync only in Saturday and Sunday night time.
Okay,
It's an
let
option.
me check.
It's off.
Yeah, let me check. There should be option. There should be option to kind of throttle that. Let me see. Here you're talking about. Okay. Sync activities. Only cache that is modified during the number of days is there. Okay. Offline is fine. Okay, but you have option to create a data policy which can specify from which days you want to copy. That option is there, but otherwise, let me see. Space, C trend, cat size, volume free space is fine. Okay, you can just mention this. Only the last 1 week data can be copied and all those things. And let's see the current setting. New files will download, new modifiers will download as okay. I don't see that. Can you come again with your question? You want to do transfer only during a specific timeline, right? You want to allow it
Yeah,
only
as
during
you
a
mentioned,
particular time.
because
Okay.
you
Oh,
mentioned,
okay.
right,
Network
the
throttling. Okay,
bandwidth.
network throttling is done by the network engineers at the network device level, at the router or switches or the firewall level. But I'm also checking. That's a very good question. So I'm just checking whether they have given it in this particular Azure file sync. Okay, I'll also explore it after the class. I don't see it. Okay, but anyways, network
Because
throttling.
yeah, we don't want to explore. I mean, affect the business hours for the business applications and the business systems using the networks, right? Usage.
Yeah.
So this would be maybe identical, mostly in a lot of production environment. They wanted to do this sync up only in the non-business hours, especially Saturday and Sunday. So
correct. So Azure backup and Azure replication or recovery services technology, they definitely provide that throttling that you are looking at. For example, you can go and mention during business hours from morning 9 to evening 5. You need to just use only 10% of the network bandwidth or 20% of the network bandwidth, and maybe during the non-business hours you can use 60% or something like that. You can also mention that kind of throttling is available in Azure backup and Azure replication concept, but I'll explore whether it is these options are available in Azure File Sync. Okay, but definitely if you're daily transferring files from on-prem to the cloud, you can mention during business hour I can only use 30% or 40%, and you can say like during the non-business you can use up to 60 to 70% or something like that. Those throttling options are definitely available in Azure backup and replication options. So that is something we'll see next week. But with Azure File Sync, I don't think there is an option available, but I'll double check on that, whether they have got throttling option.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Sure. Thanks.
So yeah, so on this one, okay, so there is a kind of option. For example, data box are generally used when you have data from 50 TB to 500 TB. Generally, we can use data box, and above greater than 500 TB up to maybe 5 petabyte, you can use data box edge. Okay, this is the choice when you have this much amount of size. Data box disk, I think up to 50 TB, you can use data box disk. Okay, so from 50 GB up to 50 terabyte. Okay, this is the general phenomenon, or this is the general limit.
Yeah, when we have a low network bandwidth.
Yeah, only when you have a low network bandwidth. Yeah, so this is offline data transfer is mainly for scenarios where you have low network bandwidth, low WAN network bandwidth. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just checking what else we can discuss. You have a lot of statistics here. Okay, you can just go and look at the metrics. There is a lot of options here under the sync groups. You can also check which files, how many files have got replicated. A lot of different data is available. You can see the server availability status. You can see how much data files are transferred. Even you can get some more statistics on the sync group also. Within the sync group, you get a lot of how many files have synchronized, how many bytes have synchronized. You get a lot more options here. You can see how many files and directory has got synchronized, total data, when it started, when it ended, what is the current status. You have a lot of statistics available. Okay, if you go inside the Azure File Sync. So this is a very common use case that a lot of customers. Yeah, go ahead.
Stan, you also said by default all the file shares have the scanning from Microsoft for the vulnerability and other threat kind of scannings, right? So is there any agents or any files that we see on the file share level, or it won't be available?
No,
We don't see
nothing.
that, right?
Yeah, we don't see
It's
that.
all in
We
the
don't.
backend.
Correct. But at the, I mean, what you have visibility is on the encryption level. Okay, you can go and encrypt your data to protect against some kind of vulnerable, I mean, some kind of intrusion and all those things. So you have storage service encryption option, which you can protect when the data is at rest. This is something that you can do. But when the data is in transfer, it is by default enabled with secure transfer. Okay, so this option I told you, right? You can also go and enable this encryption option, either using Microsoft own keys, or you can also use your own keys to store that particular thing. So we already